friends, you should have in front of you a yellow piece of paper with our Do Now warm-up for today. And just like you do every day, you have 5 minutes to complete this. It is silent and solo. Ready? Go. Everybody has gotten started working on their own pencil, pens moving. Thank you so much. Not going to need our full 5 minutes. We're going to stop here. And I'm going to call on some people to share out something you saw in this image. Julie.
Clouds, a mountain, a tree, and a village.
Okay. Did she not have something that you had, Michael?
Not that.
All right. Yes, Mom.
There's also water, maybe an ocean, but I'm not sure.
Okay, great notices. Village over here. And our next question is, what adjectives describe this place? Jen, what did you have for an adjective? Dark. Another one.
Somber.
Somber. Great word.
Peaceful.
Peaceful. Okay.
Empty.
Empty. Very interesting. Anybody want to share a name that they made up for this mountain? Creepy mountain.
Mount Doom.
Mount Doom.
Like
All right.
I did a mountain of clouds. Just went literal.
The mountain in the clouds. Thank you for sharing.
Nothing scary.
Julie, will you please read our learning objective for the day out loud?
I can explain how particular parts of the story reveal aspects of the character and provoke a decision.
Molly, thank you. What's one thing you circled?
I circled explain.
Explain. Okay, so we are going to leave today being able to explain something. Jen, what's something you circled? Reveal. I love that. Do you know what reveal means?
It means when we were able to figure out what something is.
Yeah. when it shows us, right? When something is revealed to us, we become aware. And so I'm going to put shows us. So we're going to be able to explain how particular parts of the story show us. Another word you circled, Julie?
Aspects of the character.
Great. Aspects of a character. And aspects means parts. Go ahead and just jot these definitions on your paper. And I'm also going to circle provoke a decision. Provoke means lead to a decision. We are going to begin reading a text today. It is at the beginning of a novel. The novel is called Where the Mountain Meets the Moon by Grace Lynn, who actually lives right in our next town, one town away from us in Northampton. And she's written a beautiful story, actually one of my favorite novels, about a hero. And we're going to focus today on seeing how she tells us, through her story, different pieces of information about the characters of the story. This is also going to help us with our embedded assessment, right? We're going to write our own hero's journey narrative. We're going to start writing it in just a few days. We'll start brainstorming and getting a picture of how other people write stories about heroes is going to help us with our own writing. So that's our purpose for today. I want to point out two things that we have up here as reminders to us. So we've got our hero's journey stages and steps here, this anchor chart. We're in the departure stage of the hero's journey. When we meet the characters in this story, one of them is going to be leaving on a journey. We're going to see that very beginning of the story. And I want to point out what close readers do. You have a lot of practice in this. What do successful readers do? They close read. And so the first thing we're going to do as successful readers is we're going to do a first reading of the text. I'm going to put 4 minutes on the clock. See if that's a slide. Yep. Put 4 minutes on the clock. And you're going to read as much of the story as you can. You might get through 1 page. You might get through 2 pages. I don't expect you to finish the whole thing. Okay? And I want you to think about what is it about? If you want to underline things, you can, but the idea is just like, what's this story going to be about? Give me a thumb if you've got that. Directions. Michael, can you repeat that real quick? Our task?
Yes, we're going to read the story over about 4 minutes to get whatever we can out of it, underline things that stick to our minds to help us explain the text.
Okay. 4 minutes, silent and solo. Our eyes are on the text, underlining key details, and the goal is reading for the full 4 minutes. Some of us might get really far, some of us might get just a couple paragraphs. That is okay. Ready? Go. last week, we got really good at think, pair, shares. So we're going to practice that today. You're going to turn to the person next to you, and you're going to share out really quickly. It's not going to take us more than a minute in total. What do you think this story is going to be about? Remember, you're going to share your truth. You're going to make eye contact with your partner. You're going to show them that you're listening. And you're going to stay on topic for a full minute. Ready? Let's go. Molly's doing a good job turning to her partner. What do you think it's going to be about? Okay.
So I got the together, find out the solutions very core, knowledge, drama, and land that, story things, yeah, where it got started, actual story with Roots now, but I didn't get very far. So I think it's going to be about story. I think it's really connected, inspiring to something different.
If you haven't heard from both partners, make sure you switch.
Something.
I think that you need to she's probably one of the first
Yeah.
in food to the food stuff. The description in her eyes or discarding her spirit game changer.
Yeah.
Yes.
I heard some great predictions. We're just going to hear from one person. Jen, tell us a little bit about what you think this story is about based on what you read.
So we discussed how is this village going to survive as very poor, and it's hard for them to get by food, and but then Lily is so bright that we, in the end, it turns into this great place, and that then we're talking about the story that Dad starts to talk about in the rain cloud. What happens though if there is no meeting and she gets mad that whoever gets mad and then only have a son.
Great. So you all have some great ideas about this story so far. And now we're going to continue to do what great readers do. And we're going to do some more reading. So we're going to reread from the very beginning. And we're going to go more deeply into what we're reading. And we're going to really focus on this bullet point here. We're going to focus on reading and annotating with a purpose. Underlining important details and jotting ideas in our own words. I'm going to write the purpose of our reading today over on my text, and you're going to write it on yours. Our purpose is to figure out what we learn about the characters, and the setting. I'm just going to remind myself that this is the purpose of my reading today. What do we learn about the characters and the setting? I'm going to think aloud about the first 3 paragraphs. I'm going to read them out loud, and I'm going to show you my thinking about these as I annotate for what I learn about characters and setting. While you watch me, I'm going to ask you to jot down in these lines here, what do you see me thinking, saying, or doing? Okay? And Molly, can you do me a favor? Can you give me a 4-minute timer? I'll tell you when to start. I really want to try to make sure this doesn't take too long. Okay, so I want to be conscious of time. Jen, what are we doing right now?
So we're going to listen to you read that out loud, and we want to learn. We want to jot down like what we're learning about the characters. And I think they kind of.
Yes. So I'm going to underline what I'm noticing about the characters and setting. And then I'm going to jot those ideas in my own words on the margin. All you have to write down is what you see me thinking, saying, doing. So you don't have to write that down yet. Just focus on what I'm thinking and saying. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, here we go. Timer on, please. Reading aloud paragraphs 1 through 3. From Where the Mountain Meets the Boot by Grace Lynn. Far away from here, following the Jade River, there was once a black mountain that cut into the sky as a jagged piece of rough metal. The villagers called it Fruitless Mountain because nothing grew on it, and birds and animals did not rest there. Crowded in the corner, where Fruitless Mountain and the Jade River met, was a village that was a shade of faded brown. This was because the land around the village was hard and poor. To coax rice out of the stubborn land, the fields had to be flooded with water. The villagers had to tramp in the mud, bending and stooping and planting day after day. Working in the mud so much made it spread everywhere, and the hot sun dried it onto their clothes and hair and homes. Over time, everything in the village had become the dull color of dried mud. One of the houses in this village was so small that its wood boards, held together by the roof, made one think of a bunch of matches tied with a piece of twine. Inside, there was barely enough room for 3 people to sit around the table, which was lucky because only 3 people lived there. One of them was a young girl called Lindsay. All right, so I learned a lot about the setting in these first 3 paragraphs. Setting, where the story takes place. I'm going to underline Jade River and Fruitless Mountain because those seem like important places. And I'm going to keep underlining because nothing grew on it, and birds and animals did not rest there. Describe the setting. Now I'm going to ask myself what I could write in the margins of my own words that would remind me what I learned about the setting in this paragraph. I'm going to write dead mountain. Let's see. Continuing on, I think I'll also underline shade of faded brown. So the village was a shade of faded brown. And hard and poor. Those definitely go with my idea of this dead, dark mountain. The word coax stands out to me. I'm not sure I know what that means. To coax rice out of the stubborn land, the fields had to be flooded with water. The villagers had to tramp in the mud, bending and stooping and planting day after day. I think that the villagers had to encourage the rice to grow because it was such a hard place for things to grow. So I'm going to jot my idea down there. I think coax means encourage. I see people writing my steps, my thinking, my what I'm saying. Nice work. Just a reminder to do that. All right, jumping down to this 3rd paragraph, the author's words give me a really clear picture of one house in the village. One of the houses in the village was so small that its wood boards held together by the roof made one think of a bunch of matches tied with a piece of twine. Inside, there was barely enough room for 3 people to sit around the table. That is such a clear visual, such good imagery that I can picture that house. So I'm going to underline that. And this is where we meet our character, Lindsay. I wonder, I bet she's the hero. All right, I'm ready to write a key idea in the margin. If someone had gone to the bathroom and they missed this, what would I tell them it was about? I think I would say that Minley's village is poor. I'm going to write that down. Minley's village is poor. All right. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you. We're going to pause there, and I am going to ask you one more time to turn and talk to your partner keeping in mind sharing your truth, making eye contact, showing you're listening, staying on topic, and tell your partner what things did you see me doing while I was thinking aloud about these 3 paragraphs. Ready? Go.
It's what she's gonna underline. Okay, so that's purpose, so you said aloud, underline things that relate to the setting.
Yeah.
Or it's saying underline all the setting things.
And she really put this down and
She was your-
like there,
Yeah.
the rest there, showing desolate. She remembers some word that was probably like clothes.
Yep.
She also like asks herself out loud, okay, now that I've underlined this, how can I send that?
It's like once when I can you explain that if there's things I don't know how to explain
And again, we
Share that with them.
probably really had to really have to hard life knowledge. Go through the reform and food resources.
All right, we're going to come back together. I really want to shout you out for turning and facing each other, showing each other that you were listening, staying on topic. Nice job. Tell me, Molly, one thing you saw me do. Think, say, or do.
You named a focus for what you were going to underline. You said, I'm going to underline all the setting details.
Great. So one thing I did that a successful reader do is name the purpose. Thank you. Another thing, Michael.
You had pointed out different words that might give some problems like quotes, which always kind of encourage.
Good. And I tried to define that using the text. Great. And give us one more, Julie. One thing you saw me think, say, or do.
You like asked if someone had missed what we like was out of the room. How would we explain that paragraph? How would we summarize it? And you said Lindsay's village or so it's still in the setting, but needed to know that.
Great. So I underlined important details, and then I asked myself, how would I put this in my own words? And it helps me to think about how would I explain this to somebody else if I was going to try to tell them what I learned about the characters of this movie. Good. So, a couple things I want you to do. Actually, just one thing. I want you to go ahead and capture those annotations on your paper if you don't have them yet. Take a moment to do that. Great, and we're going to move on to the we do section. So we just did the think aloud, and you did a great job of noticing some things about how I thought about the text. Now you're going to get to try that out. I'm going to read out loud a little bit more, and then you're going to get to work with your partner on annotating the next chunk of text. So, go ahead and put your finger on paragraph 4 on your text. I'm going to read 4 through 10, and then you're going to have time to do the annotations. Minley was not faded and dull like the rest of the village. She had glossy black hair with pink cheeks, shining eyes, always eager for adventure, and a fast smile that flashed from her face. When people saw her lively and impulsive spirit, they thought her name, which meant quick thinking, suited her well. Too well, her mother sighed, as Minley had a habit of quick acting as well. Ma sighed a great deal, an impatient noise usually accompanied with a frown at their rough clothes, run-down house, or meager food. Minley could not remember a time when Ma did not sigh. It often made Minley wish she had been called a name that meant gold or fortune instead. Because Minley and her parents, like the village and the land around them, were very poor. They were barely able to harvest enough rice to feed themselves, and the only money in the house was 2 old copper coins that sat in a blue rice bowl with a white rabbit painted on it. The coins and the bowl belonged to Minley. They had been given to her when she was a baby, and she had had them for as long as she could remember. What kept Minley from becoming dull and brown like the rest of the village were the stories her father told her every night at dinner. She glowed with wonder and excitement that even Ma would smile, though she would shake her head at the same time. Ba seemed to drop his gray and work weariness. His black eyes sparkled like raindrops in the sun when he began a story. Ba, tell me the story about Fruitless Mountain again, Minley would say as her mother spooned their plain rice into bowls. Tell me again why nothing grows on it. Ah, Minley's father said, you've heard this so many times. You know. Tell me again, Bob, Minley begged. Please. Okay, he said. And as he set down his chopsticks, his smile twinkled in a way that Minley loved. Okay. Remember, we're underlining for clues we get about character and setting. So you're going to go ahead and do that with your partner, and then jot down some important ideas about character and setting in your own words with these 2 things right here. You take 2 minutes.
Note their side successful. The day-to-day routine, patient, frown. What is a little more about it? What is character traits? Run down. And meager.
Maybe she was right in the margin, like, Ma is. Maybe she started or so I just wrote really different, bright/happy. Each other.
Great rice.
And then, so she likes stories.
What is your excitement?
The dad is agreeing.
And Mom likes stories that she perks up when the father tells the stories. You say dad is a dreamer.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
That spice sparkle.
great.
Okay, I'm going to share out a couple of the annotations that I saw as I was walking around and ask you guys to talk about them. So, Molly, you said Minley was different, right, and happy. Why did you say that?
Because the text said, Minley was not faded and dull like the rest of the village. She had glossy black hair with pink cheeks, shining eyes, full of adventure, fast smile that flashed from her face.
Great, so we've gotten some great clues from the author about what Minley is like, and we're going to jot that down in our own words. If you don't have an annotation that's similar to this, I would borrow this one. Let's see, somebody said Ma was tired. What made you say tired? Is that you, Mom?
Yes, Michael, or both of us.
She sighed, was impatient, and frowned.
She sighed a great deal, she was patient, she frowned. Why was she so tired?
Cranky from working hard.
From working hard.
And eating
Say again.
and eating little.
Yeah, and being poor. Okay, and then Michael, you said, jumping down to paragraph 6, that Dad was a dreamer. I'm going to ask Julie, why do you think he might have said Dad is a dreamer?
Because he tells a lot of stories.
He tells a lot of stories, and his black eyes sparkled like raindrops. I love that simile when he began the story. Does the text say he was a dreamer? Does the author use the word dreamer? No. So Michael did something there, and many of you did this when you wrote down your annotations. You're making inferences. You're taking clues from the text, and you're using them to figure out things about the character. So Michael knows that when somebody's black eyes sparkle, when their eyes sparkle, they're excited about something. They love stories. And so he used the word dreamer to describe that. Great. All right. So you're getting to be experts in making, using our purpose to create your annotations and also making inferences. I want you to look at question number 2. How is Minley's character described in contrast to the rest of the village? What keeps her from being like the village? Use evidence from the text to support your response. And you're going to turn and talk to your same partner. You don't have to write it. You can if you want. And I want you to really make sure that you point out that evidence that tells us about Minley and how she's different from the rest of the village. Take 1 more minute. Make sure both people get to talk. Go.
I think it shows a comparison and contrast. That helps with it.
Just like you know,
She is shiny, the village is dull.
contrast. So it shows right here that she's
Everything's all, it's all good. I just misspoke. Minley was not faded and dull like the rest of the village, so that's like a direct statement from the author that she's not like the villagers.
So, the evidence is right there, just
And then the next one goes.
And then the backtrack, the village is described as paragraph 2.
And it's because.
Working in the mud, needing to spread everything, hot sun back down for stones, everything in the village becomes dull. And then, so that's how the village is described, whereas Minley is described in paragraph 4, glossy black hair, pale cheeks, shiny
Okay, I'm
eyes.
hearing some great answers.
Jen, direct statements and then the 2 contract.
Will you share out what you guys talked about?
yeah, so how is Minnie's character described in contrast to the rest of the village? Well, the evidence is shows right here that she's completely just described the opposite of the village, where the village is like faded and brown, and she has glossy black hair, pink cheeks, shiny eyes, and it's very different from the setting.
Great. What evidence did you guys just hear Jen point out? Molly, what evidence did you hear?
In paragraph 4, I believe we were, Joan was pointing to Minley was not faded and dull like the rest of the village, would be my direct quote.
Great, thank you. Great use of evidence. Okay, we're go into the next chunk of text where you all are going to be reading with each other. This next section is when Ba is telling Mindy the story of Fruitless Mountain. And this is an interesting narrative technique. It's called an embedded narrative. So we're getting a story inside of another story. So we're going to write embedded narrative right next to story of Fruitless Mountain. And then you're going to read through the end of that and stop at chapter 2. We're going to split this into 2 parts. Partner A is going to read the first set of paragraphs aloud. Partner B is going to follow along, looking for key ideas and underlining things related to character and setting. Partner A, and then they're going to share out what they would write in the margins. Partner A is going to agree with that or share out another idea of what to annotate, what to write down. And then you're going to make sure that both of you have the same thing written in the margins. Okay, this is new to us and it's a lot of responsibility. So let's make sure we understand that. First of all, I want you to, you can work with your same partners. I want you to decide who's going to be A, who's going to be B. Do that real quick. Who's A, who's B? Okay, A's raise your hand. A, B's raise your hand. Okay, and A, I need you to tell me, actually, raise your hand if you're going to be the first person to read out loud. Okay, A's are going to read first. Molly, what are B's going to do while they're reading?
Follow along and state the key idea of the chapter.
Good, and so I didn't say this, but you can be underlining. Partner B is going to underline. And you're going to be paying attention to what 2 things? Setting and character. What is partner B going to do when A gets to the end of the chunk? Julie?
Share the key ideas.
Good. And then what's going to happen next? Michael, what's going to happen after B shares the key ideas?
We're going to agree upon the idea.
Good. Make sure you have something written for that section. And then you're going to switch. The B's will be the readers, and the A's will be the annotators. Okay? All right. Michael says he's ready to go. Let's see what happens in 5 minutes. I think you can do it in 5 minutes. Go.
Once we're no further, Jake, she decided where they were about to play on, and this was about she did Jake dragged, four dragged, her ball, they were large and small. They helped Jake. This guy, she one day it's a street track and the rain up the rain. She was workers inside their privileges competition. I'm so tired of the rain. Those rules tired of rain. Jane Drag was completed. Their developers dishonored her that way. Jane Drag was so offended that she decided to let it rain again. People enjoyed the silence and her. Jane Drag loved it. It was there to spirit on their own. This is the sense of people who were hurt. Their king drought and damage. Mountains and trees withered and died. People begged for rain, but Jane Drag their settlers did not go unnoticed by Jane Drag's. They were horrified and anguished and misery in her. One by one, they went to the water and forgiveness for Jesus. People in words of the South Southwest. He will never make the people again. Pearl, yellow, long, and black, and red, secret. You must do something to help the people of God's day. If they can
Water.
The others looked at him in astonishment. One by one they nodded. I will do the same. As we will. So she died in situation, went down to her and threw themselves in the water, safely picking one water. They became four great rivers of land, stopping with drought and death. She dragged herself to children time. She cursed herself for her pride. No longer would her dragon fly in the air. Nothing grows or lives on the mountain. Yet water first dark, the dragon still there. Until the tree dragon no longer reunited with peaceful children. Who is now.
So,
Alright, so things that I thought were most important to underline.
so I underlined
Were back on paragraph 11, that tree dragon returned to the clouds.
proud,
And then at the end, they helped the dragon with her work. I guess I should have also looked at like purple, yellow, bronze, or black.
that she four children dragons early
Because this is just giving it a character. So I know the tree
they
dragon
were
was in
in
clouds.
So we beat
She
the
has some more
children.
children, and they help her with her work.
G,
In paragraph 12, I underlined she overtook Walter's conversation. Even though that doesn't relate to the study of her characters necessarily, it's hard to get what's happening. So I underlined it.
prideful,
Then line 15, or paragraph 15, I underlined those words. So your dragon with anger, kids go and swear.
and despair for people, drought in, so no water.
And then
Everything.
I underlined I want to do some skip help for people, stuff like the kids talking about what they're going to do as adults.
Kids that
And then I just underlined like just by responses, I will sacrifice myself for the earth, and we're not going
the
to.
kids noticed that.
24 and 25 is where they all agreed to do this. I don't know that I need to, well, I guess I could write that they all agree.
And then that, I don't think so, because that's really honor, so
Go against their mother.
all four term members.
Seeing some great
And
annotations.
in 26, I underlined the action that they took into the water, saving people on the earth. They became the four great rivers of the land, stopping the drought.
26, underline, that's part of that.
I want to push everybody to jump down to paragraph 28. Talk about 28 before we go on.
Rivers save earth.
And turn yourself into the Jade River, and fruit the sun, and then
28,
also turn the river.
where we learn that the mountain equals Jade Dragon, or her broken heart, and that's why it's barren. So her sad spirit's still there.
And then I underline food the
And
sun,
the mountains remain
and
lonely and barren until she's reunited with that
yes, not sure how we united with at least one or two pieces,
So,
always like food the sun.
cave,
No water, no
empty.
united, so. How I think I can make a difference for the story.
Child. Anything you think I missed? Got all the characters, the dragon, her children, what they decided to do. in
All right,
response to
I'm
what
gonna pull us together real quick before you keep reading. I wanted to just highlight some annotations that I saw. The broken heart of Jade Dragon underlined, and her sad spirit is still there, and fruitless mountain will remain bare, and Julie had, there's no water until she's reunited with her children. Give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. Do you think that those annotations there are what successful readers do? Give a thumb up, a thumb up, a thumb up, a thumb up. And why do you say that?
Just because it shows understanding of the main concepts, the passage, showing that understand that the barren mountain is can grow into her barren heart, and that it could only be resurrected through uniting of herself with her children.
Good. And did Julie put that annotation in her own words?
Yes.
She did. Great. And did she underline details that related to it?
Yes.
Good. Okay, you're doing an excellent job. You're going to switch roles. Partner B is going to read. And we're going to see if we can do it in 3 or 4 minutes. This part's a little shorter.
Why doesn't someone bring the water before the river to the mountain? And then he asked, even though she had asked this question many times before, every time God told the story, she couldn't help thinking how wonderful it would be to have a mountain.
Why doesn't someone bring the water before great rivers to the mountains? Even though she had asked this question many times before. Every time God told the story, she couldn't help thinking how wonderful it would be to have the mountains produce pretty flowers, bring richness to their needy village. Would that make Jade Dragon happy?
Over 100 years
When Jade Dragon's children turned themselves into water, his father said, they were at peace and their spirits were released. Their spirits are no longer in the water, so Jade Dragon could not find them in the river. Over 100 years ago, a man tried to reunite them by taking stones from the mountain.
My grandmother told me
That man was not taking the stone for a dragon spirit, and his mother had it. She never quite approved of Bob's stories, as she felt they made Minley impractical
it probably
and
was not
critically
good
daydreaming.
concept.
My grandmother told me
You
he
probably
was
found something
He
you
took the mountain rock to carve
Edit the bronze on
to
the
carve into his inking stone. Did he ever come back? And they asked, no, he probably did not make good on the side. He probably found something finer elsewhere. I bet the bronze on his horse's saddle was more than we will ever
That
have.
is a question you will have to ask.
Ma's sighs made Minley wish that every bronze from this mountain were gold, and she couldn't help asking. So how will this mountain
That is
ever
a
go
question you
from
have
here?
to ask.
The mother said. That's a question you will have to ask the old man of the moon.
The old man was reading another story.
That story, tell that story next to me, Meg. Whenever I ask something important, people say, that is a question you have to ask the old man of the moon. Someday I will ask him. The old man of the moon, another story. Our house is bare and our rice hardly hold our coals. But we have plenty of stories, Mom sighed again. What poor fortune we have. Maybe Bob said to me, I should tell you that story tomorrow. It's supposed to read to 38 or 39. It says 39, but
Yeah, 38. Sorry.
okay. All right.
Okay, so
What?
29, where she asked the question about why doesn't she bring water? It showed that Minley is a problem solver.
Yeah.
And she is optimistic, unlike her mom.
She's a problem solver. You write those 2 words down.
Then, let's see. No, Minley's a problem solver. Then, so shows that this problem has been around for the 17th century, even if it's talked about 100 years ago, and everything. So people are trying to solve the problems in the trying to figure out.
So we need,
And
yeah, it could be for fun.
BC. So then it also shows that peace is attained by a sacrificial spirit, because the children gave their kind of like their spirits and
Right, but the spirits aren't in the water.
Yeah, like
sacrifice.
set.
And then she goes
And
I said she's optimistic.
Take about 30 seconds just to make sure you get the last key idea for that chunk down.
let's see. The old man and woman is introduced in 35 as a possible person who actually resolve the situation. And then Midley's mother tries to pour water on the spark that Dan gave by looking at the negative, and says what a poor fortune you have, because they just have stories but they don't have food. And she doesn't look at the value of the stories, just in the material. And, but Midley is not deterred in the 38 by her mom's negativity, and still looks to the bright future in dad's.
So how
So it kind of shaped her perseverance and optimism. And also, you have 37, that Long is kind of jealous of her husband, because he has the daughter that admires him personally more than her mom.
seems to be like, oh,
Seems like she kind of wants the attention of her dad. When the dad sort of gets the admiration of her daughter.
All right, I'm going to pull us together. Really excellent conversation. We're going to move into independent practice, so you're going to work independently. And here's where a small group may be working with you, or a special education teacher, or an ELP teacher during this time. Kids in particular with significant foundational skill gaps with reading, who wouldn't be successful in even comprehending the text on their own. So, we're going to move to independent practice. Before we do, I just want to point out two things. Don't worry about writing more than 2 or 3 things for this chunk. So, only looking for 2 or 3 things in your own words. And I want you to try to really think about, if I'm talking about Ma is what? What did I just learn about her? So filling in that blank. Minley is hopeful. That would be an example of how to do that. Okay? We're going to take 5 minutes to read chapter 2. You're continuing to annotate for characters and setting. And then if you finish that, you're going to go ahead and answer text-dependent question. The text-dependent question that comes right after.
Underlining too.
Underlining, yep, always underlining. And then jotting 2 or 3 things down. I'm going to bring our attention to something Jen wrote down in her text. She wrote down, Minnie feels like her mom, beaten and run down. And she wrote that, I think, in paragraphs 41 and 42, with some things underlined. I want to just ask you, do you think that this is a good example of what successful readers do? Actually, it is. So tell me, why is it? Why is this a good example of what successful readers do?
Because you're interpreting what's in that paragraph into what you think the paragraph is saying.
Good. So you put what you think it means in your own words. Julie, agree or disagree? What makes it good?
Well, it's a good proof that is like, it's taking what it says in the text, but like implementing it. Yeah, saying words are it's something directly like maybe what's going to drive her to take the next steps.
And why did Julie use the word inference? Michael, why did she use the word inference?
It's to make you educated guess from background for the information that
And personal knowledge. Yep. Okay, awesome, amazing. And we're gonna move towards debriefing and doing our exit ticket. So first thing I wanna do is just revisit our anchor chart of what successful readers do and ask you, what did we do today on this list? What did we do today? Give us one thing, Julie.
We were jotting the gist.
Jotting the gist. One more thing, Michael.
we read multiple times. Oh, actually, no. Wait.
Well, we did read multiple times, yeah.
Yeah, we saw made more emphasis as we went along. Because lots of times we see things.
Great. So should we write make inferences down at the bottom of our anchor chart?
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna not waste that marker. I'm gonna use this. Do it on paper. We're gonna make inferences. Strong readers make inferences as they read. Great. Okay, and tomorrow we're gonna keep reading. We're gonna see more about this departure stage of our hero. Who's our hero, Jen? Oh,
In this one.
yeah. Midley, yeah. Our hero. Okay, last thing is to take 5 minutes to turn your yellow paper over to the next side, to the back, and I am going to really be interested in how you answer number 1 and especially number 2. I'm especially interested in number 2. So take your full 5 minutes. Let me know what your thinking is. Go ahead. finish up their thought, go ahead and pack up your stuff. I'm going to be standing at the door. You can hand me your yellow paper on the way out. Nice job.